The air was thick with dust and the smell of rain that never came. Across the sunburned plains of what would one day be called East Africa, a storm brewed silently behind the distant mountains. Herds of antelope grazed near sparse acacia trees, watched by sharp-eyed vultures circling above. The earth trembled faintly under the slow rhythm of ancient elephants moving toward a watering hole that had almost dried to mud. In this harsh, changing world lived Sahelia, a young female of her kind. Not quite ape, not yet human. Her people were few, spread thin across the shifting savannas and forests. They were small, barely a meter tall, covered in coarse hair that shimmered under the sun. Their arms were long, their fingers curled easily around branches, yet their legs were growing stronger, straighter. They were creatures of the in-between, children of trees learning to live on the ground. The forest's edge. Sahelia's world was in transformation. For countless generations, her ancestors had lived among trees, moving with ease through the forest canopy. But now, the trees were thinning. The dry season stretched longer each year. Rivers shrank, and fruit-bearing plants retreated. Life demanded change, and those who couldn't adapt vanished. On this day, Sahelia climbed down from her favorite fig tree at dawn. She moved cautiously, scanning the horizon. Predators lurked everywhere. Saber-toothed cats, giant snakes, and packs of hyenas that hunted by scent. Her troop, a small band of 6, had lost 2 members in the past month. The loss had changed them. They no longer called loudly or strayed far from one another. Sahelia's mother was old, her fur graying, her grip uncertain. Her younger brother clung to her side, still too weak to walk far. It fell to Sahelia to lead, to find food, water, and safety. The first step. By midday, the troop reached an open plain where the tall grass whispered in the wind. A herd of grazing gazelles lifted their heads, twitching their ears. The sight filled Sahelia with both fear and wonder. Out there, beyond the shade, was danger, but also promise. A flicker of movement caught her eye, a flash of golden fur. A leopard, crouched low in the grass, stalking the same herd she was watching. Instinct urged her back to the trees, but there were none nearby. Instead, a fallen branch lay across the dirt, and beyond it, fruit trees glimmering with red figs. The others hesitated. The leopard moved closer. Sahelia made a sound, a soft hoo, low and urgent, to warn them. Then, driven by a mix of fear and courage, she rose onto her hind legs. Her spine wobbled, her arms spread slightly for balance. The grass swayed around her waist as she peered over it. For the first time, she could see clearly above the savanna, see the predator, the herd, the distance to safety. Her heart hammered. The moment stretched long and silent. Then she ran, upright for several strides, half stumbling, half gliding, toward the trees ahead. Behind her, the others followed, screeching in alarm. The leopard leapt, claws flashing, but its prey had already vanished into a tangle of branches. They were safe, and though Sahelia collapsed, panting, she had done something new. For a brief, shining instant, she had stood tall against the wild. Days of hunger. That night, as the troop huddled together in a shallow cave, Sahelia could not sleep. The moonlight poured in pale and cold, painting silver shapes across the rocks. She kept replaying the moment in her mind, the balance, the view, the rush of strength in her legs. It felt like remembering a dream from long ago, something ancient and waiting. Over the next days, the troop traveled farther than ever before. They moved between patches of woodland and open grass, scavenging for fruits, eggs, and insects. Sahelia began to use her upright stance more often, to check for predators, to reach low-hanging fruit, to carry food in her hands. Her balance grew steadier. Her mother watched, uncertain. Walking upright was slow, awkward, and dangerous. But it also freed the hands that could carry, break, and protect. Once, while searching for roots near a dried riverbed, Sahelia found a long stick. She used it to dig, uncovering hidden tubers. Later, when a snake lunged in the shadows, she swung the stick by instinct, striking its head with a sharp crack. The others screamed and scattered, but the snake fell still. That night, Sahelia shared her roots with the troop. For the first time, they ate together not as scavengers but as survivors, bound by a small act of defense, by a simple tool, fire in the sky. Seasons passed. The rains came and went. The world grew hotter, the forest thinner still. Sahelia's troop grew smaller. Her mother died under a fallen tree, her brother taken by sickness. Yet she endured, her children clinging to her fur. She led them to the highlands, where cooler winds blew and rivers still ran. One evening, thunder rolled across the valley, and lightning struck a distant tree. Flames leapt into the air, roaring against the night. Sahelia froze, eyes wide at the orange light. Her children whimpered, clinging to her. No creature dared approach. Not lions, not hyenas, not even birds. But Sahelia, drawn by the flickering glow, stepped closer. The warmth touched her face, strange but not cruel. She didn't understand it, only that it kept the darkness away. The storm passed. The fire burned low, leaving blackened earth and the scent of ash. Yet something had changed again, another small spark in the long story becoming. Legacy of the steppe. Years turned to decades. Sahelia's descendants spread slowly across the land, from shaded valleys to golden plains. Each generation grew a little taller, a little stronger, their back straighter, their mind sharper. They learned to carry food, to walk farther, to see beyond the trees. The savannah no longer belonged only to predators. A new creature had risen, one that could think, plan, and hope. In time, they would become Australopithecus, then Homo, and finally us. But it all began with a moment, a frightened female, rising from the grass to see the world more clearly. Epilogue, the footprints. Millions of years later, long after Sahelia's bones had turned to dust, the rains uncovered something miraculous in a bed of ancient volcanic ash, a trail of footprints. They were small, side by side, leading across a plain where once the wind had whispered her name. Archaeologists would one day call them the first steps of humanity. But the truth was simpler. They were the memory of one brave creature who, faced with fear and change, chose to stand. And in that single act, fragile, trembling, and new, the story of us began.